How's it going, everyone? It's Deadmeat. Welcome to video 1 of the Installing DDC2 video series. So what we'll cover today is the server hardware spec, including VM spec, and some of the operating system configuration items you should consider when using DDC2. Okay, so I'm running an Intel NUC as the physical piece of hardware. It's got 64 gig of RAM, a 3.5 gig dual core processor, 500 gig of hard drive space on a solid state, and a gigabit Ethernet card. The VM that sits on that is a dual virtual CPU, 10 gig of RAM. It's got about 200 gig of disk space. I've separated them into a 50 gig OS drive and a 150 gig DCS drive. It's got a gigabit Ethernet card and it's running Windows 10 Pro. Currently, I think it's running build 2004. Okay, so let's have a look at the operating system configuration. So here we are on the server now. What we're going to do is we'll quickly cover the applications that I'm using. So there'll be 3 types of applications that we're going to use, being a web browser, a compression tool, and a text editor. So for those, for me, and again it's personal preference, I use Google Chrome for my web browser, 7-zip for my compression tool, and Notepad++ for my text editing tool. Those also have shortcuts on the desktop here, on the taskbar, and I've also got shortcuts for the task scheduler and Powershell. On the desktop, I've also created 2 shortcuts, one for the install location for all of the server components of DCS and LowTAC and TACView and stuff. I've also got a shortcut to the DCS profile location. Okay, so the next bit we're going to do is we're going to enable the remote desktop protocol on the server. So if you don't know how to do it, this is just a quick 2-second thing on what you need to do. So this PC, we'll right click on that and go to properties. In the event that you don't actually have the this PC shortcut on your desktop, just hit the start button, type in this PC, click properties there, or you can right click and hit properties there to get the same screen. Hit advanced systems, remote, make sure that's there, make sure that's ticked, and untick remote assistant. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to type in firewall, get to the advanced settings of the firewall here, get rid of that thing. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be creating a rule that says allow your local machine, so the machine you're actually logging in through via RDP in your local LAN, to access the server via RDP. So I'm going to scroll down here to where it says remote desktop. So these are the 3 rules that we're going to be modifying. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding a single address into each of these for your local machine's IP address. So we go into here, into scope. Now I'm going to put in my IP address. I'm going to copy that, hit OK, hit apply, and now I've got to do that for the other 2 as well. This and that, done. Apply this, that one, and apply. So now that those 3 are all done, yeah, that's essentially it. So you'll still be able to get into RDP as long as your local machine's IP address is matching that, but anything else that tries to get onto the server will will basically be ignored. And we do this to lock it down, so the access script, when you're running the access command on DDC2, it will then add another firewall rule and allow that specific IP address into the server. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is to enable AutoLogon. Now, normally you would never do this because you're basically leaving the shell logged in on your server all the time. And the reason we have to do this is to allow DCS to update correctly. The reason why we have to do that is because there's a whole bunch of dialogues that are left open and you have to interact with the dialogues every single time you run a server update. I've logged this with ED. I hope that they fix it someday, because this is probably the thing I'm least happy about with DDC2 is the fact that you've got to have AutoLogon enabled to allow the server to update. If you don't want to have DDC2 to be able to do updates, you don't need to do this step. Alright, so normally when you want to set AutoLogon, you'll go to the start menu and you'll type in netplwiz, and you get a wizard here. Now, in the past, there was a tick box up here, but since Windows version 2004, that tick box is not there by default. So what we're going to do now is show you how to enable that tick box. And the way we do that is we'll load up Regedit, and we're going to go to HK Local Machine, then we're going to go to Software, Microsoft, Windows NT, current version, and passwordless, I think it is. Open up that one. So that starts out as a 2, and we're going to set that to a 0 and hit OK. Then we're going to close this and run netplwiz again, and the tick box will be there. So what we'll do now is untick that tick box. We'll hit apply. It'll ask us for a username and password, and we'll just put in our password. Now, if you, in the event that you change a server password, you must repeat this step because it basically stores it in the registry for the password. So we'll hit OK to that and OK to that. So that is how you enable AutoLogon. Okay, next bit we're going to do is we're going to disable the Hibernate file. So we'll right click on Powershell down here, run as administrator, power cfg -h off. So what that does is that will disable the Hibernate file. That'll clear up a bit of your disk space on your C drive. Okay, now we'll type in exit and get out of that. Then the next thing we do is we go down to the start menu, we'll type in edit power, hit this button here. So both of these should be set to never. So we never want the server to sleep, and we don't want to turn off the display. Because this server is a virtual machine, we don't need the display to need to worry about the display too much. Then we're going to hit change here. We're going to change that to power, so that to the high power performance, and that will stop the hard drives from being turned off. Also want to make sure that sleep is also set to never, and hit OK. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to enable PowerShell to be able to run scripts. So again, right click on PowerShell, run as administrator, set execution policy, set to bypass, hit the A button to set yes to all, and that's it. And we hit exit again, and that is how to set the PowerShell scripts to run. So the next bit is optional. I do it just because I hate all of the bullshit that comes with Windows 10. There's a whole bunch of stuff that just makes the start menus and stuff look like crap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run as administrator again. Now I'm going to run get app, let's put a dash there, get app package, all users, remove app package. So what that's going to do is you'll get a few errors here and there, but it's going to basically remove all of the stuff from Windows that isn't really needed. So things like Windows Photos. You don't need any of this stuff for servers, man. It's just cleans it all up. So that takes a few minutes. You get a few errors here and there saying Windows can't remove it. Yeah, whatever. Okay, now that that's done, now one of the things that's really annoying, it actually removes calculator. It removes the calculator. So what we do then is we will copy this. So I'll grab this out of here, paste it. So we run this command here. It'll be in the description below. And what that'll do is that'll actually then go and install calc. So if we type in calc now, it should open up the calculator. Sweet. Okay, and again, hit exit, and we're out. Just on a side note, one of the other things I'm not a huge fan of is the system sound. So I always just set it to no sound, just so you don't get crazy ass noises and stuff all the time when you're making YouTube videos. Okay, so I've just switched over to a new server which does not have anything installed on it currently. So I'm quickly going to take you through how to grab DDC2 and put it onto your server, because the next step we're going to need to set up the DDC2 scheduled tasks. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to jump onto GitHub, and download DDC2. So we'll go to initial release here. We'll hit the source. Okay, it's saved. Let's show that in a folder. Right click and we'll just extract it to there. Let's open that up. So we want to grab this file here, the ddc2.ps1, and what we're going to do is, so what I've done is created a G drive, which is going to be everything I install my servers on. Open up that. I've got a game server folder already. I'm going to create a new folder called DDC2, and I'm going to paste that in there. Okay. So then what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to the task scheduler. Okay, I'm going to right click and go create new basic task. I'm going to call this one clear firewall rules. I'll put DDC2 at the front there so it makes a bit more sense. And then we'll paste a description. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have that do that whenever the computer starts. I'm going to start a program. Actions here, so this will be in the description below. So we're going to tell it to look at the Powershell executable, which is there, and then we're going to tell it to run this script here. So what it's going to do is execution set to bypass. Sometimes it doesn't work unless you set that. I'm going to say right g : game server ddc2 and then ddc2.ps1 and with a dash and clear all. And what that will do is that will actually run the script and clear all the firewall rules. We'll hit finish on that, and now we'll right click on it and just go to properties. So I run that with the highest privileges. I tick that box to hide, set it to Windows 10, and whether the user is logged in or not, and we don't need to store a password because it's not going out to the network or anything like that. Check everything one last time. So triggers correct, conditions is correct, settings. So I think one of the things I do is I untick the box if it's been running longer than 3 days. Allow it to be run on demand, and that's it. And that's all you need to do. So that's the first one. It'll also ask you for a username and password, and you just enter in your password again, which in my case is a pretty simple password on the new server, and it's done. Okay, so that does so when the server restarts, it'll clear all the automatically generated firewall rules created by DDC2 for allowing people to have access. The next one, again, this one's optional. This one is going to be a server restart. So we're going to right click again, create basic task. This is going to be DDC2 restart server, and it's simple description, restarts the server. Okay, and the trigger, what we're going to do is we're going to set this, so I'm going to set it to daily, and I'm going to say that I want the server to restart every day at 4 AM, starting from today. Next, I'm going to say start a program. Same thing, we're going to select PowerShell. And this time, what we're going to do is we're going to set it to run the same script, PS1, but this one with a dash reboot. Okay, and then we will tick this box this time, that way it'll open it up. Once it opens it up, run with the highest privilege, set it to hide, Windows 10, and run whether the user is logged in or not. In fact, we should be able to tick that box and say do not store password because it's running locally. Okay. And we'll actually go back and set that one up to not run with it as well. So that concludes essentially the server setup, or the initial server setup for our DDC2 DCS server. In the next video, we'll cover off on the server application installation, so DCS, SRS, LowTAC, and TACView installs. And yeah, hope to see you then. Thanks. Bye.